Okay, so here, white lost this in a hurry. His misfortune was walking into that pin. And, this is a game that could have actually even appeared in a Grandmaster game. Uh, the in-game position where white blundered the piece. I'll explain it. Okay. So the game is very, very even. You can see the same position in a Grandmaster game. Okay. Very, very level. Now here, one drawback with taking back with the pawn is that white might have to accept an isolated queen pawn. That wouldn't have been a bad strategy by black. But apparently, there it happens. He's got the isolated queen pawn. Now, an isolated queen pawn is not a weakness, unless let me rephrase it. Okay, the isolated queen pawn is stronger when your pieces are on the board. The more pieces on the board, the stronger it is. When the pieces start to vanish, it becomes weaker. So right now, white has control of c5 and e5 with that pawn, and he has a c file and an e file to operate on. Black should be playing to blockade it. But white, in turn, just hands it to him. So this is a blunder. He just lost his pawn. But apparently white won a pawn back because he had a 2-to-1 majority. So this is not a Grandmaster game. I mean, the position, once white wins back the pawn, it was theoretically, it had resemblance to a Grandmaster game. Decides not to repeat the position. And those are strong knights. Look at that. Look how those knights are sunk in. So here, let's think about this for a second. One drawback with the knights as they're placed is that they're protecting each other. If one is driven away, the other one could be lost. And with that in mind by itself, white can't move the knight on d6. I guess he could. Knight b5, because, black can't take the knight on c4 because he would lose the rook on d8, followed by his king. But here, we're trying to prevent tactics, and the pin comes up here in just a handful of moves. Let me just look at the score sheet. Yeah, it comes up here in like 4 moves, move 28. So white played h3. Is h3 really necessary here? That's a very good question. And my answer is no, it's not. Okay, it does prevent a back rank mate, but is black going to get a back rank mate? Well, certainly not as long as that rook on a1 is there. And it would have to vacate the back rank, or black would have to be doubling on an open file. So the first objective white could try is something like b3. Now, the reason for b3 is this protects the knight on c4, and the knight isn't vulnerable. So we could then play a move like knight b5. So let's go forward a move. h3. Now he needs to take. But here there's no danger. And what would be a good plan for white here? Well, the best move I can see, he played knight e5. I guess that's playable, but knight e3 puts that knight on a very good square. It helps secure c2. Okay, so knight e3. It doesn't attack anything, but it covers c2. So if black doubles his rooks on the c file, White could then put his rook on the 7th rank. Okay, the knight on e3 is safe from this bishop because it's a light squared bishop. So after knight e5, we often are compelled to make attacking moves. But one thing I think is useful with knights, they're such wonderful pieces, just when you move a knight, think about where it's going next. Okay, now after black plays rook here, the question is, where is that knight going? Now, he can go to g4, and maybe that's okay. If he goes to f3, white's will probably get his pawn structure shattered. And then, with best play, it's probably still a draw, but who wants to get your pawns all messed up like that? Especially seeing 3 bad pawns against 4 good ones. Okay, but knight d7 attacks the rook, but then it's putting the knight farther from home, and he may have trouble getting out of there. So in this position, knight g4 was probably the best choice. And if black wants to double his pawns, well, at least they're not isolated. But this is, in effect, like I say, this is a grandmaster position, a grandmaster endgame. Okay. So in this position, knight g4, black could take, or black could try to keep the bishop on the board and try to trade rooks and have the bishop outduel the knight in the ending. It's a famous game. It's Stoltz Kashtan, The Hague, 1928. It's in all the endgame anthologies. It's in my library at ICC under my old handle, All Rats. It's around 160. You've got the complete game in there. Entry 160 to 169, somewhere in that vicinity. It's labeled Stoltz and Kashtan. And Kashtan proves how the bishop outduels the knight in the ending. Now, interesting thing about that position, Stoltz, who had the knight, he did have this pawn up on h3. And the strategy for winning with the bishop versus the knight is you use your king and your bishop to force concessions in the white pawns, make them advance, because the king is trying to find an entry point, and then eventually you can steal a pawn, and then create a pass pawn and go on to win. Now, if you ever look at that position with Stoltz and Kashtan, and you see the maneuver Kashtan did with his king and his bishop, it probably wouldn't have happened if this pawn wasn't up on h3. Okay, so with the pawn on h2, the knight may actually draw against the bishop. Now there's a different imbalance between this and the Stoltz-Kashtan game. White has an outside pawn majority. So, it's certain, but this is a game, like I say, of highly theoretical nature. Like I say, let's go back a move. Knight e3. This was the proper move to play. Knight e3, and black can double his rooks, but white can just pork his on the 7th rank. Black can't go to the 7th rank. The knight on e3 is keeping him out. And again, it would be if 2 grandmasters were facing off, it would be a very, very tough contest. So, the problem is, you can reach a very theoretical position, but you don't have any time to solve it. I mean, why are you playing blitz chess? Why? It's fun. It's not going to help your game. You're reacting to what you see right now. Now, how many hours have I broadcast this thing live? How How many mistakes do you think I've made in my analysis? Well, I've made plenty of them. Why? Because we're thinking quick and the game's going quick. I make plenty of mistakes when I play blitz chess. Why do I do that? Because I don't have time to think forward. I don't have time to properly evaluate and prevent tactics from making the game blow up in my face. So, it's a very, very interesting theoretical position, but White just bungled it, and everything fell apart on him. So the natural instinct is knight e5, but that's a nice knight on e3. It's really covering a lot of turf. White owns the d file. Black can't oppose it at least yet. The knight on e3 keeps the black rook out of c2. Attempts to evict it. That knight will require black to start advancing its kingside pawns up the board. e5, f4, and eventually, e5, f5, and eventually f4. White may stop and play g3 to hinder those pawns from advancing. So that, that pawn on h3 could become a weakness. It never should have advanced. So, I preach this stuff. There are sometimes you do push your rook pawns, but usually don't bother. Let's hammer this in. Okay, here's the position where White played h3. Black was not going to back rank checkmate White. It wasn't going to happen. b3 frees the knight on d6 to get out of there. Now, b3, if black plays a6, we can maybe play knight b7. Rook takes, knight takes. Yeah, rook takes, knight takes, rook c2. And they can put the knight back on b3. Or, on c4, it's protected by the pawn on b3. I get ahead when I think. I often name the wrong square. I said, goes back to b3, I'm ahead of myself. I was going to then answer that the pawn on b3 is protecting c4. Okay, so let's this was a very, very interesting game. But once you lost the knight, it was lights out. Okay. Okay, whatever. If you're going to play blitz chess, you can at least study them. We've seen the interesting line in the Traxler. We saw a theoretically interesting ending there that went by the wayside. Okay. Furry board and mini expert. This looks like the fried liver attack. Okay. So this is good. They're black. Black didn't succumb and fall into a lot of the pitfalls that happen. But black did make a critical error. He went for the rook on a1. We'll explain this. There was a point when black had he still had his knight on d5, and he had a knight on c6. And White was piling up on the knight on d5. Now the proper move is to take the knight on c6 and put it on e7. When you put the knight on b4, you're creating a threat of a fork. But White can allow that fork, as he has done here, and that black king runs into trouble. And here is the checkmate. Okay, so I recognize the position. Let's take this to the beginning. Okay, so fried liver attack. And this is the critical error. Now, it's I don't remember everything, but I know that when I was first introduced to this fried liver, I mean, I knew of it when I first knew a good player that knew the fried liver. You know, he explained to me that the proper move here is knight from C to E7. Okay, on my video on the two knights, I actually introduced this. I explained how knight B4 is critical. So had many experts seen that video and watched it, well, he wouldn't have played that move. So the goal is, if you're playing white in this position, you want to know what to do against that move. If you're playing black in this position, you want to know to play the correct choice. So white's well prepared here. But I don't think this is a blunder. Okay, it's time now to develop something. Okay, what would be a good move here? Okay, D4. Now, again, like I say, there are positions where we allow him to win the knight. A3 is not the correct move here, and it wouldn't surprise me if the omission of white by not playing D4 doesn't give white a losing game. And you know, white's now down a rook and a knight. Okay, what's he got for it? He doesn't even have a pawn for it. Okay, so he's going to get this piece here, but he's still down a rook. Now here, what did I say? I said it wouldn't surprise me if black was winning this. What? But black missed white's threat. So he played C6, attacking the bishop, and he got checkmated. See, the second rank is covered by the queen. C6 and D5 are covered by the queen, or E6 and D5. C5 is covered by the knight. What should black do here? Well, you have to recognize knight here is a mate. You have to see that. So there's no magic way to get that king to C5. Well, we could put the king on C5. But I would say the best way to fight this would be queen E7. Now if white checks with the knight, we have king D7. Now here white could also play bishop E6 check, and black can't take with his queen because it's pinned, but I think after king D8, white is out of checks. So what's probably going to happen in this position is eventually that knight on E1 is going to be captured, but black is going to be the exchange up. So this was a critical position where, you know, I think that black would. I think queen E7 should win for black. So, you know, white knew somewhat what to do, but he didn't know what to do against that. I think he had the right, he had the right idea, but D4 is better. It activates this bishop on C1. Okay, so we had some interesting theoretical discussions here from the kids. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Okay, I hope they're not playing blitz. Wow. Black is missing a lot of material, and his pieces are all near the edge of the board. White's up a queen for a rook. About to win more here. The king has to step back. You have two legal moves here, Black, and both of them drop your rook. Black has passed pawns all over the place. Well, not all over the place, but he has on the 6th rank. Okay, maybe Black is going to let his clock run out. He's going to be down an entire queen after king e8, queen takes a8 check, bishop d8. The knight on e1 falls. Yeah, he's just going to let his clock run out. Unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, I guess, there's supposed to be a stopgap here that'll consider the game abandoned. What I've been noticing is all of a sudden White's clock, which says 48 seconds, starts blinking. And then Black forfeits on time. Well, it's not kicking in. We have 25 seconds to wait here. And we'll do a quick review of this game. For sportsmanship, just let your clock run out. It's gonna abandon it here. See, now that clock's blinking. No, it's over. One on time. Okay, let's have a quick look at this one. So d4 is a better move than f4, but okay, Black's positionally is trying to set up something decent. He's trying to get the knight into f5. Now this is kind of pointless. This puts the knight on the edge. Black may even win a pawn with queen d4. He does. So the knight goes back, and he doesn't want the pawn. He takes f4. I mean, White can play d4, but that seems to win a pawn. The developing is fine too. Now he guards the pawn on f4. Attacks the pinned knight, counterattacks the queen. I mean, maybe I can see why Black let his time run out. He has the better game here. You know, this is how he got this pawn into a3 with check. So here's black with all 8 of his pawns. This A pawn was the C pawn. White's down 2 pawns. So how do we follow this up? Well, we can play bishop b4. It may allow a knight check at some point down on d6. Okay, so he goes here. That's fine. Now, knight f5. That goes to g4. Okay. Castles. So white has some development, but he's down. Black has all 8 of his pawns still. White's given up 2 pawns to reach this position. But black is starting to fall behind in development. And here a good move would simply be castle. Castle and be done with it. Okay, but this creates some threats. The threat is knight takes e2 check. Now, here, black is looking for more material. So, we can say that this is going to win more material, but here's something to ask yourself when next time you're up material and you have a chance to get more material. Do you really need it? Okay. Do you really need that material? And I think at some point black is going to grab too much material and then white's going to come storming back. So knight takes d2, c2 does allow white to pin that knight with bishop d1. So if you take with the queen instead, oh, you're saying this is great. If and that might be a good move. Let's see. I'm seeing some things against it. Queen checks. White doesn't want to trade queens, especially when the knight will come in and fork. Queen check, bishop d7. Although he could play king f8. Another reason why you want to be castled. Queen takes b7, this queen down under c2, black can win this bishop, knight takes check. So queen takes c2 is a better choice. But castling, there's nothing wrong with castling. White's not going to mate black down on h7. His queen is a long ways away from getting to even attack that square. So here, black pitches his queen. Now whose fault is that? That's black's fault. He didn't see his piece was pinned. And now the whole game is falling apart. And this is where, yeah, so that explains why black didn't continue. But it's his fault. He grabbed too much material. You don't need it. Okay, just castle and be done with it. Black has a beautiful position. His pawn on a3 is twice protected. It's on the 6th rank. B7 is protected. Right now the bishop is fine on c8. But this is the time to castle. Okay. So you got a strong position like that. You got to win those games every time. Oops, I hit the wrong button. My fault. Okay, now we got the menu here in a moment. We'll see what's up on the agenda. Okay. I hope okay, got some high ratings here. Well, they're not, there's nobody really over 2,000 here. Okay, this is interesting. The black is down some pawns. I'm sorry, black is ahead some pawns, but the queens and rooks are on the board, so possibilities of perpetual checks abound. And he's trying to soften up that position. Black is behind about a minute on the clock. That's what happens here. Okay, don't quite understand Queen C4. You already had him pinned. There was the chance to take on G6. Then maybe play Rook F3. So this one's turning against White in a hurry. He had a time advantage, but Black has too many pawns here. It's 3 pawns up. That doesn't mean White can't pull a rabbit out of his hat, as I like to say. Okay, pressure on A5. White needs to win those 2 queenside pawns. Okay, and if he has to trade his pawn on D5 to do it, well, great. Okay, so take the pawn on A5. Black is short of time. Now Black has, well, he doesn't necessarily have a perpetual, but I don't think White would have minded it. Queen H4 check. Okay, so what will White do here? He's got some time on the clock. He's got a minute advantage. Rook B5 looks playable. That's what he did. Now check. So I'm thinking Black is going to lose this on time. So the perpetual I talked about, he's threatening it now. He should, Queen E1 check. He should consider that. Well, with like 33 seconds, if you miss the perpetual and can't move quickly, you won't be able to get another 10, 15 moves in. Now, you don't play it for perpetual in a tournament game. You do in a 5-minute blitz game because the alternative is you lose on time. See, it's another reason why blitz chess is not the chess you want to play. So, Black has 2 pawns up. White could take on B4 and maintain some drawing chances. Simply because this is risky here, unless you're going to get counterplay, because that pawn on B4 could run. Now Black is just hung a rook. Huh. I was afraid that would happen in a short time. See, another case of why you don't want to play blitz chess. Oops. I just did an oops. Oh no! Okay, how about that? I'm talking about Black's problem is he's running out of time here. He's only got 1.1 second. Now it went up to 2 seconds. Maybe he has a 1 second. I think he has an increment that's saving him. Oh, no, there it went. White won. No. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back to the beginning here. Okay, exchange French. Rather drawish. H6 wasn't needed by Black. It was just a waste of tempo. Bishop here was a waste of tempo because you've already moved the bishop. This was a mistake. It weakens E3. Better to capture towards the center with the pawns. We only do this if we definitely have a strong attack down the F-file. Well, White's busy making pawn moves. I missed a chance to isolate his pawn. So, you know, White does have a small lead in development in that his queen is developed and Black's isn't. But, you know, that pawn at A4, suddenly look at it. It's under attack. And it's still under attack. I deflected away. I'm away from it. You know, White's okay here. Or is he? I'm wondering if Black is going to try to steal that pawn on A5. Yep, there it goes. Now, Rook E7 looks strong. Now here's the reason why he wanted to take with the take earlier with the H pawn. White sees if he brings his king up, that queen takes B2, costs a pawn with check. So we have to deactivate that rook. Now, let's see. I was thinking he had to take the pawn here. His queen is loose, so I didn't understand queen takes C4. Fortunes can change. You know, Black hangs a rook, but this becomes a problem. So, what did, okay, so queen B1 apparently is a huge mistake. What does White do here? How about we play Rook B7? Rook B7 threatens a quick checkmate with queen takes F7. It pins the F-pawn. Black would need to play queen C4. If he does that, then the rook just takes the pawn on B2. And if queen C1 anyway, let's see. Actually, position rook B7, queen C1, now pins the queen. Rook takes. White has at least a draw, because his queen is pinned. Maybe the trick move here is king H2. No, he still plays queen C1. Wow. What am I missing? I'm probably missing something. It just seems amazing that queen C1 could be so hard to meet. So he got the free rook here. Maybe the safe move is rook D1. Okay, that keeps white doubled on the first rank. And now check, and black is winning, but black ran out of time. Let's see what we got up here. So, you know, they're good. They're decent players. I'm going to stop a recording here. I'm going to take a break here in a moment.